All right, the meeting begins. Are you rolling? Good evening. There's food. You didn't come, so you don't get any. But if you come next month, no, there won't be food next month. But next Thursday, this is kind of important. I want everybody to remember this. Come back here next Thursday at 5:30. There is a big proposal to build a land bridge downtown from the mall across the train track over the Amtrak station to the roof of the Science Center, which will create a massive, wide, huge, they call it a cap, pedestrian walkway over the shoreway, the train tracks and all that, and essentially create one big long lawn from the mall to the lakefront, right in between the Brown Stadium and the Science Center. And it's going to cost a whole lot of money, but it is an important downtown revitalization project a lot of people aren't sure why they should care about. And if you absolutely don't care about it, then this won't be the meeting for you. But if you're wondering why you might want to care about this, come on by next Thursday the 17th at 5:30. With that, Old Brooklyn asked if they can go first because they want to be brief. And then we're going to get into a discussion about stats and figures and neighborhood information. Right?
Yes.
All right, come on, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Divine Anderson. I am the Healthy Home Specialist at Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation. I work with housing. I do exterior surveys on site with Kris sometimes. So we get letters in the mail from OBCC about exterior surveys that comes from me and our senior repair program. We just wanted to share some updates with you all about our tree starts program. All the beautiful trees we planted outside. We are looking for people to help water it. It is a paid position, so there are some flyers here if anyone is interested in those, anyone who would be. Also, speaking of trees, we still have 15 trees left. If anyone is looking for a free tree to have in front of their home.
15, you said?
Yeah, we have 15.
15.
Yeah. And that could go in this year. And we also will be back around the spring for more trees. If anyone's interested, flyers are here. And lastly, I wanted to talk about our neighborhood canvasser program. Maria's over here, and she's going to introduce herself and our canvasser, Michelle.
So I'm Maria Sharp. I'm the community engagement specialist for the Neighbor to Neighbor program. So we are doing surveys across the neighborhood, asking questions about people's internet and their housing stability and things like that. So we have Michelle over here, and she will be doing some surveys with you guys if you are interested after today's meeting. And we also have some resource guides on the table, so we would love to do a survey with you if you are willing. Otherwise, we will see you at your door.
What about internet?
Like if you have it, how good is your?
Not this internet here.
No, like your personal.
You wanna know what service or what provider we have?
So we ask a lot of different questions. So what provider you have, how much it costs, if it's reliable, if you think it's affordable.
Then what?
So then we're gonna use that information to then advocate for better connectivity across the city. So this program is happening.
Connectivity with those services or with the city?
Just like in
Are you
general.
trying to get free Wi-Fi to the city?
I don't think we're there yet. I don't think that's
You're just
exactly.
trying to compose stats stuff from the neighbors?
Yes, exactly. We know that we're a very disconnected city and we need to do something about it, but we don't have any data to support that. And so this program is to figure out exactly who is disconnected, where, and then be able to kind of propose that to partners in order to get better connectivity across the city. So it's a long process, but it starts with you guys. So yeah, Michelle's over here and she's happy to talk to you afterwards. All right, thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okie doke. Our guest speaker, unless you want me to stall, I can stall for
No, it's okay.
Go a few more minutes.
It's okay.
I figure if you're doing a participation exercise, though, we can all just sit in a circle. So
Yeah, I like
I
that
don't-
idea.
yeah.
How you doing? I have another Michelle. I just found out her name is Michelle. Michelle is a great name. My name is Michelle Broom. I work for Neighborhood Leadership Institute, and as it pertains to tonight, we're partnering with an organization called the Center for Community Solutions. And basically it's a policy organization. They put together a lot of data, across the city, greater Cleveland and beyond, to inform, folks who are working to improve, services and whatnot. So, usually, the data goes to our councilmen, the data will go to the mayor's office, the data goes to, executive directors of organizations, but probably never is it in the hands of the people who live, who work in the neighborhood. And so we had an idea to, hey, why don't we share the information with folks who live, work, play in the neighborhoods and see what they have to say. And so I'll say this, I may not even have to say it. Data is not foolproof. I mean, you already know that. So they gathered the information from census data, other information, folks who gather information, and so they put together these demographics specific to Ward 13 and then also Old Brooklyn. I have an Old Brooklyn sheet here. Does everybody here live in Old Brooklyn?
I think so, usually.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's by ward, but then we also have a second sheet by Old Brooklyn neighborhood specific. So, what I would love to do is give you a chance, did everyone pick up any of this information?
Y'all should grab both those pages, 'cause that's kind of the backbone of
so
what
this
she's gonna
is-
be going over.
This is, I'll give you 3 sheets.
Yes. They're cheerleading.
There must be some big girls.
They're all ages, I think they go from about 2 to about 16.
Thank you.
No, it's just the way the building is. Oh, they're also doing it in unison, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
thump is like 5 girls landing at the same time. So, yeah.
Hi, Jeff. Sturdy building, huh? The walls are nothing.
Yeah, it's 30, we're all right. I don't know why they're not in the gym, but hey, maybe the open gym will end and they'll be able to move down there. I think, as you're getting that together, it's important to note, this data was collected from the US Census. Primarily, this data that's on this sheet comes to us from the United States Census. It's not like they went out and recollected new data. This is stuff that the government made available after the 2020 census went live, and they sort of broke it down by ward and by neighborhood so that we can see more specifically what the census tells us about our community.
Yes, thank you.
So they can release part of the census.
They released all of the census.
Well,
If
the
you,
1950 census just came out, 72 years before they.
okay, the 2020 census was released last year, the year before.
Yeah.
And that's the data that you're
They're
looking
able
at.
to pull those kind of numbers up at recent census.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what they do.
Yes.
Okay.
So, everyone has a set, and if you need a pen, I do have, so I'm gonna give you, oh,
I didn't grab mine.
Does anyone else need a nice pen? The price is right.
the predator.
Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Freebie? Anybody? Here.
So, while you're kind of looking over, the information, I guess I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I am a community organizer by heart. I worked at St. Clair Superior Development Corporation for like 10 years as an organizer and worked with residents, business owners, I mean, pretty much any stakeholder in the community. I've helped residents get neighborhood connections grants. I've brought neighbors and business owners together to pull off, block parties and stuff like that. So, it is definitely work that I have always been in love with in connecting people. And so, I work more with folks like you who are kind of considered the leaders of the neighborhood, people who will come out to meetings, people who will volunteer to do or participate in various activities. So the organization I work for is Neighborhood Leadership Institute, and we do a leadership development program for those who might want to strengthen the leadership skills they already have, and then along the way gain some new skills. We've been around, the class has been around since '94. We graduated over 1,200 folks across the city in Greater Cleveland. But the Neighborhood Leadership Institute has only been incorporated, I believe, since 2001. I should know that, I worked there. But I'm a little fuzzy in the date, somewhere early in 2000. And so we partner, again, like I mentioned before, we're partnering with the Center for Community Solutions to get information into the hands of residents, to see what your thoughts are. And again, the data is not 100% accurate. It's based on who responded to the census. And so we all know that not everyone responds. But we can get a pretty decent picture of what the neighborhoods look like based on the folks who complete the census. So I'm not here to give you any ideas. I'm not here to suggest anything. I am here to hear from you all. And what will happen is I will take notes. Your names will not be attributed to any of the notes. I actually won't take any of your information. But I will report any suggestions that you come up with this evening to the Center for Community Solutions. And then we're gonna see how we might be able to incorporate some of the responses into an action plan, or putting folks together so that maybe you might come up with an idea to improve one or two of these areas that are on the data sheet. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, I'm just gonna take a few notes. I'm gonna give you maybe just a minute or two. I know that some of you have kind of looked over some of the demographics. You also have a sheet here that you can make notes on. I would say don't put your name on here. I would collect these if you actually use them and fill them out. I'll collect them. But if there is an issue on that data sheet that stands out to you, or something that you care about, that you like to see improvements, take a minute and just kind of write it down, and then I'll give everyone a chance to kind of talk through. I have some questions that I'll just kind of ask you, and you'll be able to kind of talk through your ideas on improving that issue or multiple issues. Okay?
Michelle,
Yes.
is our conversation about Old Brooklyn specifically or the greater Ward 13?
It is, oh yeah, it could be both. So what I would say is, if you have a comment specific to Old Brooklyn, then you could just say that.
I would actually suggest that these stats are almost identical.
Okay.
There is like no difference in there's no
Okay.
meaningful difference in any of the statistics between Ward 13 and Old Brooklyn. So I would just say Old Brooklyn, because
Okay.
it doesn't matter where you live then in the neighborhood. We all know where the neighborhood is. Not everybody knows where the Ward 13 and Ward 12 dividing line is.
Right.
But the stats stay the exact same. It's still the same percentage for income, it's still the same percentage for race, it's still the same percentage for age, it's still the same percentage for everything,
Yeah.
almost to a T.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So-
Because again, I didn't look at the data specifically because I didn't want to come in with any ideas. And so, yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Minute differences.
Yeah, so we'll take just another moment. And again, there is food. And if you don't want to eat now, certainly you can take something with you.
The difference between them, Ward 13 includes a part of Ridge Road that goes north of 90. I'm sorry, that's 71. No, that's 90. No, 71. It goes north of up to Denison. That area is statistically considered stockyards. So like that little section up there isn't part of Old Brooklyn, even though it's part of Ward 13. And then Old Brooklyn includes everything east of Broadview as well as north, which is Ward 12. So you got it all.
Maybe there should have been a map with this.
It's right, there's a map right here, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what,
You
the
know.
important streets to be there, you know?
So the divider line between Ward 12 and Ward 13 is Broadview, down to Shaft. So everything east of Broadview and north of Shaft is Ward 12. Everything west of Broadview and south of Shaft is Ward 13. And Old Brooklyn, of course, is from, Ridge Road over to the valley, and then from the zoo down to Brook Park, so.
Okay, so I will do my best to take notes. And again, we won't have your names and want to encourage you to speak freely. Not being recorded, I don't believe so.
Oh.
Is it just a live stream?
No, it's not live.
So this will be for the Ward 13 family.
Yes.
Okay.
That's John, I told him a long time ago, these are public meetings anyway, so I stand by that, these are public meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, even though we are focusing on your ward, on Ward 13, in terms of the city as a whole, some of your suggestions might benefit everyone, and so I guess I'm saying, yes, we do have our own neighborhoods, we have our own wards, but we're all still part of the larger city, and we're all connected. So I will just say that. So let's start with, from what you've seen so far, the data. Does it feel accurate? Do the numbers feel accurate to you based on where you live, based on your experiences? Yes.
What is the population of Old Brooklyn?
32,813.
That's estimate?
Yep, it's right there at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Old Brooklyn neighborhood
Estimate?
fact population. 2020 census.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a suggestion that's kind of alarming to me personally. Under education, on the sheet that says Old Brooklyn Neighborhood Fact Sheets, okay? I'm wondering, why are these individuals not being tapped into to encourage them to get a high school diploma? And I'm gonna expand that a little bit. I had an opportunity to work at Metro Hospital, and I had to escort a very elderly gentleman to one of the, departments for an appointment. And he was very hesitant to follow my instructions, that you had to look at that sign up there and then you just follow it. And very quietly, and he was an elderly gentleman, he must have been in his 80s. He says, ma'am, I can't read. So that's the expansion that I wanna put under that high school diploma, lack of. There are places where people can get tutoring for this, irregardless of what their circumstances are, whether they're young, old, middle-aged, whatever. But how can they go through life and not know how to read? That's basic.
Some of them can't, they don't have the mental capacity, developmental disabilities.
Okay, but this gentleman seemed like he
Well,
was.
they do, they can carry on conversations and all that, but I work with people like that. They can't read or write, they don't have the mental capacity to do that. There are people like that.
Okay, but
They
I'm
can talk to you
talking
about
about the people that are
Yeah.
genuinely
Yeah,
needing it.
yeah.
So your question is,
How do we reach these people?
how do you reach out, share resources that are available, that are mostly free, and are available to anyone who wants to
Learn how to
take
read.
advantage of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Anytime. I speak my mind, right, Kris?
Yes, you do. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting that in our neighborhood, there are more people with a college degree than lacking a high school diploma, whereas citywide it's reversed.
Wow.
Citywide, there are more people that don't have a high school diploma than actually do have a college degree, so actually we're one of the more educated communities.
That's true.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Comparatively speaking.
Can you teach common sense?
Is it on the GED?
common sense as well.
It's occasionally.
Yes,
You just want.
Could we give our names just so that I know
Oh.
who's?
yes, please.
Oh, I'm
But
good.
that finish, he was,
Yeah,
Oh,
I just.
do you wanna just go around the room or everyone say their name before you?
I just meant when you raise your hand for, I should say, I'm Greg,
Yes.
here's my,
Okay.
that's what I'm.
Oh,
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, I was
Okay.
Mary.
Mary?
Hi.
Mary.
I'm Jeff.
Jeff?
And just to clear, you just want us to react to things that we think should be a focus of attention more so than other things on the list, right?
Yes,
Okay,
and that could be
well-
just your personal,
Fine. Well, first I agree, that one's probably number one. But I also checked off the poverty level being, I mean, it's lower than the city average, but, you know, anything is above zero is a bad thing, probably. So I would say that's a concern of mine. I don't know how that gets addressed, other than maybe that's through education and, attracting employers within, you know, community transit networks. If
yeah,
not-
so a number of ways that working together could improve or decrease poverty levels. Transportation,
So
what else did you mention?
education
Education.
and transportation to employment centers or employers.
Say, increase education.
And I guess the third one would just be increasing the internal, you know, community internal employers or opportunities, so they don't have to travel. I mean, it's job related, but it's like they don't need to worry about transportation because it's a local employer in their local neighborhood.
Okay,
They could
got
walk, they could walk or bike there.
it. Increase local employers, or have employers, more employers moving into.
More job availability in the community, as opposed to taking a bus to Strongsville.
You know, there's one thing we have to remember, oh, my name's Mary again. Sometimes it's from one generation to the next generation, to the next generation. How does one motivate the individuals to break that cycle? You know,
The cycle of,
one generation poverty to another generation poverty and so forth and so on. I think as an example, one of the things that's happened is, I'll give an example. St. Martin de Tours High School is a high school that's in the former location, I believe, of St. Vitus, which is up around St.
62nd,
Clair,
St. Clair.
yes. And what, when I was working at the county treasurer's, what we did was we had some of the young people there from that location come into our office, and they were like interns.
We had a work study.
Work
And the
study
money they
type
made
thing?
paid their tuition at the school.
Correct, part of it, not all of it, but it was part of it, there was heavy scholarships available.
Yeah.
In any event, what happened was, they were then exposed to the business world and, you know, so forth and so on. But what I found is that they were not always attentive to how great an opportunity they had. So in my own comical way, I would always, you know, encourage them in a positive way, but I was always making light. For example, they used to like to listen a lot on their, buds and their whatever. And I used to look at them and I used to say to them, you know what? You'd hear a whole lot better if you took the spaghetti out of your ear. They'd look at me and they'd laugh. But that's how I was gently telling them, you know, that this is something that they need to think about. And, you know, some of them maybe had an attitude that, well, this is good, I'm gonna, you know, do the best I can and that's it, but were they really thinking far-term goals, long-range goals for their education? I don't know.
and so your comment is more to motivating young people
Yes.
to improve or be open to,
Exactly.
opportunities that they can take advantage of,
Right.
not necessarily make.
In order to give them a foundation, okay, like in education, and then have goals for going into the future. Because at any point, they can drop out.
Most of those St. Martin's are pretty good though.
I'm sorry?
Most of those St. Martin's kids, most of them, but
Yes,
they dress, some of them very business-like.
well, that's the idea of discipline.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a few of them that got it.
Thank you.
I often wish that these were accompanied with national data, because I try to compare Old Brookland to the nation rather than the city. Because the national data is, well, 350 million Americans, right? The national poverty rate is like 11%. Across the country, the poverty rate in America is 11%. So 20, the city of Cleveland sits at 32% poverty, but Old Brookland sits at 20. We have a lower poverty rate than the city, higher than the national average. But I think it's important to understand what the big national averages are. So sometimes when I look at this data, I mean, I look at this every year, but I always go pull up the national averages to see where we compare, because I usually think that Old Brookland's a pretty normal place on earth. I think that we're kind of a pretty, I know people don't like the word normal, but we're a pretty normal neighborhood in a lot of respects, and I think that sometimes knowing what the national averages are would help people contextualize some of this as well.
My name's Michelle, I'm sorry, I just have something to say. There are some alternative schools, like you'll see youth that get into trouble, maybe they had children or they have been incarcerated or whatever. They have, I don't know if it's considered Old Brookland, but there is an Old Brook School, which is like an alternative school where kids can really work. They have like 3 locations, you can live anywhere and go there. And they even help kids like if they have to, like they help them get a job, they can take a shower there. Like it's really, really like they're very supportive. So situations like that do exist, and maybe that's a great way to find out about what's going on.
Thank you for that. So it almost is kind of going back to your point. There are resources.
Just don't know what they are.
It's just how do you let folks know about the resources that are available? Because if you don't know.
Yeah, like a kid can live in Old Brookland and go to school in Parma. Even though the school's
Right.
in Parma, they can live anywhere and go there.
Right.
And a lot of those kids, some of them, they just have different situations. But
Different situations, and maybe they just don't believe it's interesting. If you're not knocking on the door or calling someone specifically to say, hey, you can do this, sometimes they'll feel that they can't, or that it's not for them.
And if a person, like an adult, has lived a defeated lifestyle for so long, it's hard to become motivated unless you have a good support system, That's my personal opinion, just because I help people a lot, and even people on the streets doing this. But
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, to build on that.
Say your name.
Rick, I'm sorry.
Rick.
Enhancing access to, I know, back in my day, we had schools open in the summer, enough for activities, or even after school, and I'm thinking that the sooner, they have the opportunity to build.
Access to education specifically.
Right, and that's, anything to get their mind flipped, or find an interest.
By access, what do you mean?
We've got schools all around here, we've got Estes. Like I say, crafts we used to have, and different activities where it brought the community together more. Okay, and I know all that's gone now.
Now, are you saying maybe even having the school buildings open for
Yeah.
community activities so that the community feels part of the school, that there are more people coming into the school that, okay.
And the library has a lot of GED classes people can take right online. They can use their computers, they have tutors.
Can I say something? I was thinking that before COVID, I believe that all of that was accessible to the people, okay? But now because of COVID, and then also in the interim, there were all kind of budgetary cuts done. And what's the first thing to go? The recreational, the sports, and the arts. And now they're finding out.
Our resource guide has internet options for people that are very reasonable. That's something else to look into.
No, I'm talking about
Yeah,
the
we're separate
social.
conversation.
Oh, I see.
I'm talking about the social interaction. It makes a difference if we're all here for Chris's
Right.
meeting here versus watching it online,
Yeah, sure.
you know?
So I'm talking to, you know, the young, you know, just to get them to interact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so.
mean, like I say, the younger you start,
Cookies.
getting your feet wet, you're like younger, it's past time. They may do it just because of it.
Thank you. So we definitely don't have time to do every issue on the data. And certainly I would encourage you also, to on your own, if you're having smaller group conversations, there are small things that, I should not say small things, like there are things that you can do, as residents that makes, you know, that impacts these, areas. And so you're concerned about literacy. I'm pretty sure you all know about neighborhood connections. You can get together a small group of residents and apply for a grant to do some projects that would impact, whatever issue that you're most passionate about. So I wanted to throw that out. I saw your hand and I saw another hand. Let's go with her. She has, I don't believe you said.
My name's Dot. I don't believe that Cleveland and Cuyahoga County lack for services in education, in any kind of assistance, children or adults, and specifically seniors. Housing, food, it's there, but the problem is access to it and knowing about it. And I think the challenge is making sure the people who need these services know about them. These meetings do a good job with that, but that's a handful of people attending those meetings. And the bulletins that are sent out, it's in the process, it's online, but I don't know what the real answer is here, but I think that, the awareness of the assistance that's available is a challenge.
Thank you.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We have lots of programs that people don't know about.
Oh, absolutely.
This gentleman here, yes.
Yeah, my name's Greg. Two things, that I just wasn't aware of. It says 7.5% of people don't have health insurance coverage. That might not sound, it might be a low number, but that's still 7%. And I know there's nothing that Old Brooklyn can do, you know, they can't offer health insurance, but, I'm sorry, you know, you need health insurance nowadays. And one other thing is this older adult disability, 65 and over, 40% of people, if I'm reading this right, 65 and over, have some kind of disability. That scares me, you know, I'm almost 70, so I should be happy that I'm healthy. Doesn't that number seem high?
It's a high number of disability. I mean, there's an underlying story in America that since the elimination of certain social programs, disability claims have gone up. This is absolutely demonstrated that people are taking advantage of disability programs as a source of income, but I don't know what percentage of people that is. It is an alarming number, 41%.
Yeah.
And I bet that 7% with no health care, I bet they're all working people. I think most of our seniors are on Medicaid, right? And most of our young people are on CareSource. I think we've got the young and the elderly taken care of. I think that 7% is gonna be your working class, right there in the middle where their job
Yes,
doesn't
food
offer it,
industry.
but they don't qualify for a Medicaid, and they don't wanna pay the out-of-pocket cost for one of the market plans. Still though, that 7.3 used to be 20 point something or other before Obamacare, let's remember that. We had 20-some% uninsured people in this country before we got a better program 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So both those numbers are not anything to write home about, it's something to work on, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that they're very, very interesting.
Also, keep in mind, you know, disability could be visible or not. You could have a disability that we can't see.
Absolutely.
Are you referring to something like mental illness?
Yes.
Okay, well then I think that number would be really greater than.
Yeah, you might be right.
A lot of
You might be right.
Oh, yeah, I think it just skyrocketed.
Some people might be undiagnosed as well.
7% without, and high percentage.
Well, again, Metro Health is just a gem in our community as far as uninsured and underinsured people. They serve them there.
Oh, yeah, so they're great. They're great. And we've got a neighborhood family practice up on Ridge as well.
They're good.
They
I've
are
heard of
wonderful people.
Are there data is both singular and plural?
Yeah, data, it's a funny word. That can be
Is there
pronounced either way.
anything missing from here that you would like to see?
National, yeah. That's
The
right. Yeah,
national?
Yeah, I'd love to see national.
I will also add that, I spoke with another individual who wanted to compare data with, suburban area.
That'd be interesting.
Would be interesting to see.
I'd especially like to see it. I would. So this is all on their website, by the way. You said you don't normally have this in the hands of the residents, but it's always been available, and you guys have had it up there for years. It's just one of those things where you kind of have to be in a niche industry to know about going to your website to find this data.
Yes.
But comparing, like, I would love to see Old Brooklyn compared to like Garfield Heights, Parma, Maple Heights, Brooklyn. Sort of like our sort of like eastern and southern neighbors. Yeah. To the west is Brooklyn. To the east is Garfield Heights. Really, if you get on the other side of the valley, or Valley View. And then right to our south, I'd be curious to see how we stack up to Parma. Because I bet we would see grades. I bet we would see gradients. Because you could take Clark Fulton and Old Brooklyn and Parma, and I bet you would just see a straight. I bet the graph would be like a lot. I bet we're halfway in between Parma and Clark Fulton. Is what I'm saying.
But
Wouldn't that make sense?
It really doesn't matter, though.
Yeah.
Comparing it, so, I mean, the thing is, we should always try to get better. I mean,
Fair
comparison
enough.
is really. what are you
I
gonna
said
do?
I wasn't gonna offer any advice. I would say if you are, like you said, if you're looking to improve, and let's say we're taking one area, and let's say we're comparing it to an area that has very high educational attainment, and you want to know what programs they've, instituted, to see if it is something that can be incorporated where we live.
Yeah, you'd have to have the reasons why they're better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it.
I guess you could chase that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't change that we kind of know what we need to work on, and we probably, well, I don't know.
But
I hear what you're saying.
I would counter that by saying we can find an area with like 0% poverty. It's called like Pepper Pike, right? Gates Mills, and none of us can afford to live there, right? So what does it mean to us, right? I think that like knowing what we're surrounded by, like our contextual surrounding, is helpful because we kind of know what we're looking at, right? We could all try to live in a 0% poverty area, but I can't afford it, and I know most of us can't, So
That's my point.
Right. And so, why is there a Pepper Pike? And why can't?
Because the people who live there want there to be a Pepper Pike.
Didn't they mandate a section of each suburb has to have low income housing?
Good luck.
Ah,
Good luck
yeah.
with that.
There's a
name on
That's called
little
common.
thing called redlining that kind of helped shape our neighborhoods. That frankly, I think, today's climate, people are starting to become, at least from what I can see, are starting to be a little bit more engaged in improving the quality of life of people and their neighbors. There's not many, but I think that just with COVID and all of the things that kind of happen along with that, people are kind of looking for opportunities to get involved. I've certainly had a number of folks call and say, hey, what are you working on? How can I volunteer? How can I help? And so I guess I'm saying I also really do appreciate your time and energy going towards this process. I don't think it's in vain. Anything else missing? Someone thought that maybe entrepreneurship might be something that folks want to capture. It didn't ring a bell with me, but maybe with some other folks it might.
Personally, I don't know how it ranks on the people who actually plan things out, but just the attractiveness of all the streetscapes. I mean, I live out of state, I drive up and down State Road a lot, all the roads, but whenever I drive down state, it's like, I can imagine how this used to look 100 years ago. Well kept, maybe some trees, some greenery, and it isn't now, and it's not, on the rank of important things, I mean, how the storefronts and streetscapes look is
Everything's
not.
got 100 coats of paint over it.
Yeah, but I mean, just trash and disrepair, windows are shuttered or whatever.
I think it's important because if you drive down State or once you get past Shaft, going down Broadview, it's almost depressing.
It's the curb appeal. My big thing, I do a lot of other nonprofits, and my whole goal for all of them is to make the city more attractive to draw people and business in. And the real estate mantra of curb appeal, will somebody, either a future resident or future business owner or entrepreneur, like this city when they drive down State Road to visit? And I kind of think not. So maybe I'm underrating my own curb appeal thought here.
No, I think you have a lot of support in that.
No, you do.
That area.
If you
I think a lot of
if
people
you're
agree with you.
coming from Columbus and you're getting off at State Road to go to the zoo, if you go right, you're gonna be like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood to live in. You go left, you might be like, eh.
Because there's a lot of streets we could probably name that aren't in this area that we like driving around. I mean, frankly, I love walking and driving around Shaft, the South Hills area, obviously, and there's some other nooks in the community I enjoy.
Yeah.
But
Somebody
like
did
State
open up
Road,
that storefront on State
no.
Road in
Broadview.
Saratoga.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money, look what happened to him.
The storefront issue is one of ownership, right? Those storefronts are owned by people, they're not owned by the community chest.
Right.
So we don't have the ability, but I know Old Brooklyn CDC spends a lot of time on this because those business owners they're not required to do what we want them to do. They're required to do what the law says they must do, which is maintain a certain standard. So it's a tough one because how do we incentivize them to do a better job? I saw a guy the other day on Pearl doing a whole storefront. He's on the west side of Pearl. I don't know, somewhere over by one of the funeral homes. Doing a beautiful job. He's gonna redo the whole thing. And that section of Pearl looks like it's starting to pick up a little. But you're right, State and Broadview just look like abandonment zones, and it's discouraging.
With that, on that education too, when I went to high school, I went to Max Hayes. Jeff. And I think that vocational, when I was in my senior year, I went to school for 2 classes, my tech classes, and I actually worked on my job. I took auto body and auto mechanics, and I went to, after my 2 classes, I go to do my job. I think that can help with the younger kids that are looking, if that's the field they want to get into, if they can be more vocational, because that's one reason why I wanted to go back to Hayes.
Yeah.
So I went to on my senior year, I had two classes, 2 45-minute classes. After that, I left and I worked.
Have you stopped up at the new Max Hayes since they
won't
opened it?
They won't even let you in, even if you're a homeowner.
Really?
Why is that?
I don't
Is it COVID?
I don't know. No, I think it was, because of all the stuff that was happening in the schools.
Shootings.
I mean,
I went to the one that was on
The old one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had everything there, they had machine shops, electronics, and the new one's got the, they got a lot, they got the visual programs and all that stuff. They got good programs, but it's just letting them experience the workplace that they're gonna be in, you know, before they, I think it'd just help them to further their job opportunity if they experience it while they're still going to school. 'Cause you're
Yeah.
learning at school and you're learning on-the-job skills.
We send kids a lot of mixed messages. Some people tell kids, go to college, go to college, go to college. That's a mantra that a lot of people repeat. And then we tell some kids, you don't need to go to college, you can go to trade school. And they're getting those are opposite messages, right? And if
Well,
you're
that's like-
17, 16, how do you decide which voice to follow?
They're even saying
They're very at odds.
Contractors and construction, they're having problems finding people that want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who went to college and then he went to trade school and he works in the trades now. I think sometimes we can remind kids they can do
By the
both.
time he gets out of college, you're already,
Yeah.
I ended up working in a cold plating place, and the guys that would come out of college, I was so far ahead of them.
And not in debt, right?
Right.
Right.
I just wanna say quickly, maybe we can generate a new business list. Who's the new businesses in the community? Like, they have the new cheese shop, I mean, different stuff like that, to get us inspired, but also, if you see a business, like, I seen a business, a gas station owner, and I approached him and I said, do you realize that you can do this, you can do that? And then I referred him to this program too, if he wanted to get into it, which is, we have a small business support program. So it might, they might be a business owner, but they might not, might have not, new suggestions or ideas or strategy or, input. Everybody gives input, they give their opinion on everything that's out there. Why not, give your opinion to a business owner? So that's just an encouraging effort, and, it's in the resource guide as well.
You're planting a good seed
Yeah.
that can grow.
So just a little bit of a different perspective, and we're definitely gonna look. Councilman, do you have other business to do? Like, I think we can definitely wrap up pretty soon.
I usually open it to any issues, questions about the neighborhood, just in general. People want to know what's up with, like, there's a hole in the ground on Memphis or something like that. I usually open up for that stuff.
Okay.
And I'll remind everybody to come back next Thursday, November 17th, for the Lakefront Connector.
Okay.
meeting.
So what I'll do is I have two more questions. And one is, how can you look at this data and frame it positively? Like, it's just something that stands out that says, okay, and we actually may have heard some of that earlier, Councilman, that you mentioned.
Mhm.
But is there anything there that kind of gives you a bright light?
About education,
Dot.
Cleveland CMSD, free college. When you graduate from 4 years of a Cleveland public high school, college is free.
Yep.
State of
Oh,
Ohio.
yes, absolutely.
Who knows that? The kids
Yep.
are taking advantage of it, but it's not out there. It's on the side of the buses. But, and so many kids are taking Tri-C classes while they're in high school, getting their, technical or their college prep, 2 years of college under their belt. So the schools have it in line. It's set up, it's working,
Mhm.
I like that, I like
but
that.
more awareness about it.
When I was in school, they came around to all the schools and they showed us films about vocational schools and stuff like that, different schools and different things.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have, it should be gone through the school somehow.
The realtors should be promoting that when they show houses or try to
Yeah,
sell
that's a good
Brooklyn.
idea.
Absolutely.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Your kid can go to any Cleveland high school and then graduate from a 4-year Cleveland high school and
Yep.
go to any Ohio college.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah,
It's a major program.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the income restriction is like 75,000. So if your household is below 70, which is like 90% of Cleveland households.
Yeah.
And if you're above that, it's like 5,000 a semester. So even if you're above that, what they'll kick in is like 80% of what a semester costs anyway. So
Yeah.
it absolutely cuts a huge chunk of college burden off.
And the GPA isn't that high either.
You have to graduate. You have to graduate. That's the requirement. Believe me, I've got 3 kids. I'm very, very in tune to this program.
I think teachers should be paid a lot.
Huh?
I think teachers should be paid a lot more too.
Yeah.
We can never pay public servants enough. This is just a fact.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, actually. Teachers
Especially
should
the
get higher
council, right?
salaries.
No, I'm fine, man. Don't worry about
What
it.
else?
There's
I wanna
there's only a
share
handful of
something.
us anyway.
Okay. I take care of my
There's
mom.
4,500 professionals in CMSD. There's 1,600 police officers. They're much more higher concern.
For 3 years, I took care of my mom. She'd been diagnosed with dementia. I went in and I lived with her and everything. But anyway, just to keep my sanity, I would take, like at 7 in the morning, well, this was during the summer, spring, summer, when it was still light and it was safe outside. I would take some black garbage bags and I would walk from my street all the way down State Road to Wetzel, cross the street, and then go all the way past that Brooklyn Heights Cemetery, cross the street, St. Mary's, and then back to where I live. And I would pick up all the litter. I kid you not, 3 huge bags of litter, black garbage bags. And I thought to myself, I can't believe it. What's wrong with people? And you know, every single time I did see people coming off that I-480 and throwing it out, and I said, this is terrible.
My neighbor gets out of his car and just dumps all his stuff in his yard and it ends up in there every day.
It's terrible.
Farms. I usually
Every
do the
day.
farms.
Send me your neighbor's address. Litter bugs
I don't understand why
infuriate
you
me.
can't just keep it in your car until you get home. And, well, here's the
Not
thing,
littering
there's
is
garbage
free.
cans right around the side of his house.
It's free to not litter. There are trash cans everywhere. There are receptacles for trash everywhere throughout this city. Not littering takes no time, no waste. I don't understand people that can't keep their yards clean, that can't throw their trash away. Those people drive me crazy.
Because I just did 4 houses on my street. Because my next door neighbor's a renter, and he doesn't care. I told him his roof was blown off, so I just says, that's on down, talking about his landlord. And I did his leaves, I did my other neighbor's leaves, and why I helped my other neighbor, because she lets me use her garage. But I did 4 yards, just so the leaves weren't blowing, because they all blow back into my yard.
I do the
I
parks
spent
when I
4
go
days
out.
doing it.
Every time I'm working, I bring a glove and a bag and I do the parks because I
Sure.
like to see our kids playing in, garbage.
Yeah, God bless you both if you can do that. That's
I
a
have
wonderful
something else
service.
that happened recently. Several days
Thank
ago, I went past this one place on my street, and I saw this huge, ugly, black raven bird, just picking away at something, and it looked like
Was it a
cat.
buzzard? Was it the buzzards were passing through the neighborhood just
Yeah,
like last
it was
week?
the buzzard.
Did y'all see them? Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I said, you know what, it's the day before garbage day on the street, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick up that dead body. I thought it was a cat. It was a possum. It was a dead possum.
Possums are good for us.
My
And I did that at night.
Every day in my yard.
My wife did that once,
My
we
neighbor's
set it in a
place
box
is
in the
fucking
garage,
dump.
it was a cat, we forgot about it.
Oh,
I opened the garage a couple weeks later, and it
Oh.
was flying.
no.
Every
What
time.
happened?
Nobody will
It
do
was
it.
a dead cat on the street, so when I
Carcass.
picked it up, we put it in a box.
Yeah.
Rot
Instead of just
quickly.
throwing it out, and I said, well, we'll just set it in the garage overnight, well, I forgot about it.
Oh,
It was out there for like a
I'm
week,
sorry.
it's
Oh,
maggot
gosh.
flies though.
go on.
You're on that.
Well, paper, rock, scissors, you ready? Rock,
Teacher
paper.
incentive.
Ladies first.
I know that we cannot, permit or, demand that police live in our city anymore, but what about just incentives for police, fire, and teachers? I'm talking about property tax abatements. They are the people who should get property tax abatements if they buy a home in the city of Cleveland for less than $150,000. Not the people who are buying $400,000 condominiums in Cleveland. They do not need tax abatements. But to keep our teachers, our firefighters, our community service workers in the city, they need tax abatements as an incentive to own real estate in our city.
And I noticed that when a lot of those condos are going
Well,
up.
there's lots of empty
15-year
homes in the
tax
city, I
abatements.
know.
This is a fascinating idea, and I wonder how legal it is.
Why,
Can you
why
show
would it be legal?
preference? Because when the residency requirement was overturned by the Ohio Supreme Court, it was basically the idea that the government can't dictate where you live. So the question would become, can the government offer incentives to a privileged class? Can you say that public employees are a privileged class and have a lower tax burden than you and me? I mean, that's a very interesting question. I like what you're trying to get. I would love it if all the firefighters and cops and teachers that don't live in Cleveland were to live here. That would be a wonderful
What about if
thing.
they volunteer, like if they're retired and they volunteer, you know, like they're volunteering their time, their advice, their, you know, whatever.
I wonder if we could legally give right now we can give it to seniors because it's an age thing, not there's no other qualifications age, right? So you can do a homestead exemption, which gives a huge tax benefit to seniors.
Yeah.
But it's an age
Yeah.
and an income,
Chris,
but
it's
I-
also,
Take it to your
if they are owner of record, and they live in their home, and that they could have disability.
should I go ask them?
That's that homestead exemption.
Is that the cheerleaders?
Yeah.
That's what they do.
We're almost done.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
If we can hear it, I'm sure they can hear it.
This may already exist, but it sounds like it doesn't. Maybe there's some benefit or an opportunity to create some sort of pamphlet that's a go-to one-stop shop. Here's all the programs you never heard of. You know, categorize it, educational, financial,
You mean like this? Are
health.
you talking about this?
I would think it's a lot longer than that, but
Then
maybe not.
sort of a citywide.
If we're touting there's so many hidden programs, and I thought so many meant like dozens and dozens and dozens.
This might
But,
be it.
but maybe not.
If you categorize it
You would
by
know, I don't know.
educational
Yeah.
opportunities.
And if it's already existing, so be it. But
Employment opportunities.
just everything we're talking about, not just
Yeah.
one category.
Okay.
Just so, and like every new resident or maybe it goes out in a mailer to every citizen, I don't know, every household at least,
Okay.
I don't know.
Another hand.
And to that, I was kind of thinking earlier, kind of what he was saying, why can't you have a web page or an app where it has every single thing to where you have an app, you put your zip code in, you put what your issue is, whether it's poverty, medical, and then it just brings all your resources from every single avenue.
Yeah. Is
Well,
it-
you
is
need
it-
internet access for that.
Oh, make it,
This is where we started the meeting with. Wait a minute, we've gone full circle.
Make
I think most people probably
Make a
have
pamphlet available.
smartphones.
This is pretty good though. This is pretty impressive. This is a nice resource.
Yeah, only thing is I will say there's certain things that people, like, we get feedback from people, and I think, you know, like, I don't know who all that information goes to, the resources people, but the information that we get, like, feedback from people is really, like, amazing. They have a lot of good ideas and stuff. So that's something to tap into,
Yeah.
too, some of the stuff. Like, one guy asked me about the 50-50 program. I said, what's that? He said they used to have a 50-50 program, like, let's say if some work needed to be done, the city would do like 50%, you do 50%, and we'd get it done, because, you know, like, he got a complicated issue, which was his tree is getting, you don't wanna take the tree down, it's so big, but it's making the sidewalk literally go up.
Yeah. So the city has a 50-50 sidewalk program. We still do.
That's happening on my street.
We still have the 50-50 sidewalk program.
Waiting in
I-
line.
I also can usually get people to the right resource. If you wanna send them my way, I pretty much know everything in here. This is a nice all-in-one, but if any of your neighbors need help with something, please do send them to the council office. I can usually get people where they need to go. Yeah, check it out.
Yes.
We were talking about litter before. Every spring, I just happen to be wearing this by chance, River Sweep. And every spring, all around Cuyahoga County, Rocky River, there's cleanups with Boy Scouts, high school kids, families, and it's a lot of fun. And it's just so good to see that if the opportunity is there, people will come. Does that sound familiar? And the other thing, I didn't know it, and I'm only 70 years old. They have Give Back to Old Brooklyn Day, is that what that's called?
Old Brooklyn Day on our, anniversary.
And, you know, I was out there pulling weeds along with a couple other people, And there were like, 15 people picking up trash. There were all kinds of things you could do. But there's opportunities there. I hate to say this, I'm not gonna go out there and pick up trash on my own. But when there's an opportunity, I'll do that.
The trash shouldn't be there to begin with.
Well,
Ideally.
people are gonna push shopping
Right.
carts
I
down
know.
the valley no matter
Right.
what.
Do you ever watch Mad Men? The TV show Mad Men? See the episode where they go to the park and they have the picnic? Do you ever see that? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's the 1950s. They go to a park, they lay out their blanket, they have a picnic, the mom and the dad, and they're like 2 kids. And they get up and they take the blanket and they shake off the paper plates and
Litter.
and they just walk away. And I guess it was really common. The United States Park Service started Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute, because littering was just second nature for everybody. Like people, literally, we had to teach entire generations not to litter,
Right.
and we haven't accomplished that yet. We've made a lot of progress, but we've not taught everyone not to litter
Yeah.
yet. It's very, very weird.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain sense of ownership beyond where you live.
Constant
Most
pessimist.
people don't treat their homes like that, some people do. But that sense of ownership of the community, of where you live, of places that you visit, places that you'd like to take your children, so.
There's a lot of people, like, somebody just bought a house on the street, so I'm gonna ask him about it before I leave. There's people from out of state buying houses and they don't business. They don't maintain it.
Oh, yeah,
They
a
don't
lot of
care.
that is going
Yeah,
on.
like
Absentee
the house next door to
landlords.
me was
I was
owned by
trying-
somebody out of state, and I actually talked to him about having to cut the grass.
Yeah,
But they don't care, the people that live
they
there
don't,
don't care.
they're just making.
And I just don't, I wish there was a way we could stop that, well, out of state
Yeah.
buyers.
So actually this,
Don't get me started.
So let's-
It is 7 o'clock. I wanna,
yeah, and I was
Encourage
actually
you to-
wrapping up.
yep, do your thing.
I'm not gonna give the last question, but I will say it, and this would be something that maybe you could, talk with your neighbors, talk with each other. Who do you think needs to see this information? It's out there. Like Councilman said, maybe if you don't know to go to the website, you probably won't. But if we have, 12 people here-ish?
Yeah.
Well, after I go to these meetings, I usually tell my neighbors, if they
Yeah.
don't know about it, I'll share my information with them.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so again, I really do thank you for your time. I do have cards here. I work for Neighborhood Leadership Institute, but we're partnering with Center for Community Solutions. So if you have any questions, I'll just kind of take these sheets and just kind of compile what I
Is
remember.
that a city thing from the city of Cleveland, or? where do you get your funding?
So the funding actually comes from the Center for Community Solutions.
They're a nonprofit organization, they fundraise, they get some
They
money here
generate
and
their own
there.
funding from,
They don't sell anything, but they
Yeah.
apply to a lot of grants and foundations and get support from philanthropic organizations.
Yes.
501c3.
Yep.
One other thing is, if you're not on our e-newsletter, please, just sign up with me. We send out a lot of updates and stuff like that. It's pretty helpful.
And then I also have, we do a leadership program. It is phenomenal. I graduated 20 years ago. I was 5. I graduated. But it is really phenomenal. It is for folks who are 18, folks who are 80, folks who are Black, white, Asian, all races. If you have a PhD, if you have a GED. Because it really does take all of us working together to improve our neighborhood. So if you're interested, I do have some information application here. And thank you again. Take some food with you.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'll hang out for the rest of the night.
All right. It's open season. Okay. Anybody got general issues in the neighborhood, questions, concerns? What's up?
Next Thursday's lakefront meeting,
Next Thursday,
they
Lake
will
Park.
have food here.
They will have food next Thursday. They want you here at 5 if you can make it, but by 5:30, they're gonna feed you. And I want to be clear about this because this is just an absolute fact, and you can check me on this. the breadbasket for Cleveland is downtown. We make all of our money downtown. Old Brooklyn costs more than it pays. We cost more in city services than we pay back into the city of Cleveland. Believe it or not, every neighborhood in Cleveland is like that. We all make all of our money off downtown Cleveland, which is where our businesses are, where our tourism is, where people come in and hang out, where now people are moving and living. The only other neighborhood that has that is University Circle because of Cleveland Clinic and the hospitals and Case Western, but downtown is incredibly important to our livelihood in Old Brooklyn because when we plow the snow, when we pick up the leaves, that money that pays for that is generated from downtown revenue. So we're having a conversation about a big upgrade to the downtown lakefront access to create a land bridge or cap or whatever you want to call it over the shoreway to open up downtown to the lake, something that every other coastal city in America has already done. Every East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast, even cities on lakes. Chicago has an amazing millennial park that people use all the time, right? Please come back next Thursday at 5:30 so we can have this discussion.
It's gonna be held in this room.
Right here.
Is that gonna be held there?
I doubt it.
Is that like Navy Park in Chicago?
Yeah,
that's-
Navy
that-
Pier
I've been
Millennial
there,
Park,
yes.
it's all
I've
connected.
been there, that's
They have an
really
amazing waterfront. We are trying to get towards something like that. Anything on anybody's mind?
But this conversation does not include the airport.
This is not about the airport, no.
Not about Burke.
This is not about the
There's,
airport.
there's what, 4 different
That's a whole
proposals?
nother.
For what?
The land bridge.
So the land bridge, so there are generally 4 different proposals we'll get into. Yeah, there's a do nothing proposal. Close your eyes, see it the way it is right now. That's proposal number 1, do nothing. And then there's different ways to do it, different ways to deal with the shoreway. They're gonna go through all of this and kind of get feedback. What your thoughts are, what your interests are, how you feeling?
There was
Yes.
some action on 49th in Spokane yesterday, a warrant was served. like-
I heard about this briefly. I did not get the brevity from the police yet.
Oh, I was wondering what transpired there.
The police were doing something, and it went a little bit sideways. I believe they handled the situation though, and everything is returned back to, there's not still an ongoing situation.
Oh, no, but, I thought you had.
I did not get the brevity on that. I apologize.
You gotta,
If you ever want to email me these issues, I can get it from Commander Stocco and be able to be a little bit more knowledgeable about the situation. I've not been brought to speed on that. That was yesterday, right? That was yesterday or Monday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, sorry.
Talking about litter, you had walked the pavement of the ward and sent out letters, you're up to date on.
My survey?
Your yard, yeah.
Yeah, I did
What
that.
happened to those that are messed up, messy?
Yeah, so I find in general about 2/3 of the neighborhood's in great shape. 2/3 of the houses are all well taken care of. We have a great neighborhood. Most people do a wonderful job. Then a large percentage have what I consider minor issues, minor problems, and then a very small have major. I follow up on the major ones first because the major ones are homes that are failing. They've got holes in the roof, or the porch is collapsed, or there's multiple abandoned vehicles in the driveway. Just a problem that needs to be solved right away. That's about, of the 2,400 houses I surveyed, I found 75 major violations. I'm focused on those. For the minor issues, I ask all those people to let me know if they need help, if they need a hand with their issues, and I send out a lot of home resource guides. I have my own that the Center Department of Aging does. So I follow up with the homeowners that way. But if you've got a particular concern about a property, you can let me know the address and I can speak directly to it. But I don't have the time to go to every single house again. I'm trying to get the whole neighborhood once.
Right, wouldn't you give it to housing or let them take care of it after you noticed it?
So if a house, I'm reluctant to turn homeowners over to building and housing if I think that there is a financial problem. I don't want people that are struggling financially to have to deal with financial penalties if the problem is they couldn't afford to repair in the first place.
Right.
I'm not trying to penalize people.
Okay.
So I'm really reluctant to send homeowners to building and housing for enforcement. I'm more willing to send landlords and investors to voting in housing, because they are investors. They've decided to get into this for profit reasons, they're motivated to make money, and they have to spend money to make money. So if it's an investment property, I'm more likely to send it to the city for official violation status code enforcement. And if it's a major violation, I usually do. Unless it's a homeowner, I really work with them. If you have a particular address you want me to look into more specifically, I can.
The guy that just left, he wrote the address down and he wanted me to email him and tell him, so I wrote it down for him.
Okay.
He couldn't get it go.
I'll get it. Cool.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
And also, talking about litter, I mean, I've walked up here past the shopping center and that, every garbage can is filled to the
Oh,
brim.
that's one of them.
So you'll
Wait,
put
wait,
something
from
in there,
the-
5 things fall
From
out.
down Memphis, you mean?
Yeah, anywhere there's a garbage can. And
By
then-
RTA stops or by stores?
Anywhere.
Right
Anywhere?
in the shopping center, all those things are full to the top.
Full,
Okay.
and the kids come and put one in, 3
Yeah.
fall out.
Yeah.
The wind comes, blows it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, who's to pick those up? The shopping center people?
Yeah, I mean, well,
Or city of Cleveland?
so it depends whose trash
garbage?
can it is. So RTA
Well,
has their own
they
trash
park
cans. RTA has trash cans. Sometimes there's,
Oh.
the city of Cleveland is supposed to pick up the side, a lot of the sidewalk stuff, but some of those plazas put out their own, and they're responsible for those. So it really depends on who owns the trash can. But I hear you on the plazas. It would probably be good for us to come up, or good for me to come up with a short list of plaza operators. I was just in tonight talking to the plaza, one of the stores down here that has those feather flags. Those feather flags are illegal. They're against code. You're not supposed to have them. I know. And since they're not out of hand crazy in the neighborhood, I try to tell people that they're not allowed, and I try to get them to take them down on their own. Because some parts of the city have already lost that battle. So I can probably try to figure out who owns the plazas and try to talk to the director.
Even
about
those
it.
apartments on Fulton Parkway have those, what did you call them,
Feather flags?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not supposed to have those. Yeah.
Oh,
They're allowed. They're allowed for a period of time. You can have them for like a couple of weeks, as if like for grand opening or under new management or
No, these-
But then they're
I
not.
would
They're,
say 3 months in front of
yeah,
that.
they're supposed to bring those
You
down.
know what else is illegal, is those electric signs. You can't put an electric sign on your sidewalk in front of your business. It says open now, you can't do that, that's against the law.
I haven't seen one of those.
Occasionally they pop up, these places still have
We're doing a good job on enforcement. I
Yeah,
haven't seen one.
sometimes they'll have them electric.
Now, you have another meeting at Good Counsel? When is it?
No. Oh, that's the Crime Watch meeting.
Yeah.
So the Crime Watch meeting, which happens on the third Wednesday of every month, is handled by an independent group of citizens. Dot is one of the.
I'm helping. And the police will be there next Wednesday.
And the police are there every week, every month. I mean, every month.
They give a
Queen of
report,
Peace,
take
Good
questions.
Counsel, however you prefer. Queen of Good Counsel.
Mary,
Yeah.
Queen of Peace.
Queen of
Yeah.
Peace. They are on the third Wednesday of every month
Okay.
at 7 o'clock.
Correct.
And second district always, I believe almost always sends a representative. And that's just more focused on crime issues. This is sort of general, what's up in the neighborhood stuff. And this is always the second Wednesday. So you've got the first Wednesday and the last Wednesday off. The second Wednesday you're here, and the third Wednesday you're at Mary Queen of Peace.
Worthwhile coming to.
Absolutely.
Uh,
If not, just to see Father Brown and say hi.
I'd like to mention one thing. I did not know this, but there's a woman, Valerie, who is our citizen support specialist. And I have her phone number from the city of Cleveland. Absolutely the friendliest, helpful person ever. There were trucks parking around my dead-end street, and garbage trucks had to back all the way up, smack into the counter. And then, pull up to get the other side kind of stuff. Utility trucks couldn't do it. I called her up, and within 2 weeks, the street department had no parking signs put up. She is the person to call.
Yeah.
City Hall,
Who is she?
I don't know. She's with the police.
police.
Satino. Yeah, I think she's with the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is a policeman, or she?
I think
works-
she's with the Department of.
So she gets the police involved, or, no, but she had no parking signs put up.
Yeah,
She
she has
knows,
contact.
she knows how to call Bob Maybach.
She's just
Oh,
absolutely amazing.
okay.
Bob Maybach is your parking sign guy in the city of Cleveland.
Yeah.
I will call him for you as well.
I mean, this woman, Actually,
He's good, he's got.
in
that-
fact,
Bob? He's
He
good.
got those speed limit signs.
She had the
raised up a
police
little bit, that 25
determine the
stuff.
weight of the
Empty
trucks,
commercial
and
zones
they're
on the
illegal,
east side,
they're like Silverado.
abandoned buildings, everything's
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
When they go- and they
Bob's
go-
the man.
They run back up again.
And you know what? I've never seen him in person.
No.
He could be right behind me right now. I wouldn't even know.
Uh,
He could be in this room. I don't know.
I don't think-
Are you Bob? Are you Bob? Maybe?
I've never seen him. He's good though.
Question for you.
Yeah.
On Biddulph for a while, they had one of those, traffic speed monitoring.
Yeah, by
things,
road.
And then now.
Is it
it's
gone already?
gone.
Okay.
What's the story?
Second district has that, and they move it around, and I'm supposed to have my own. And I'm supposed to have my own. And I'm starting to get a little bit upset about this because, hey, John, are you still recording?
Yes.
Because Councilman Slife told me that I was gonna have one by November, and I paid for it, and I'm supposed to have my own. They move them around. They move them around. The police department has one. What's up?
Who's responsible for supervision?
Here right now? There are some ladies up there that oversee the cheerleading program with the young ladies. You mean like that, or do you mean for the center itself? Huh?
Noise.
It's a rec center, I mean.
I
It's,
understand that.
yeah, it's a rec center. There's a boxing gym upstairs, there's a weight room upstairs, they're doing cheerleading. There was volleyball in the gym tonight. The council meeting is here. I specifically picked this because I want more people to be involved in our rec center.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, Kim is the manager of the center. She's fantastic. She's the manager of the rec center.
Last night was ceremonies, it was a meal, I was right first, and he was talking all about Big Creek.
Anything else? We good? Yes.
There was an initiative to call who to get the abandoned cars off the street before snowfall.
There is. The police would like to get every abandoned vehicle off the street before snowfall. So if there's an abandoned vehicle, and by the way, that means more than 72 hours. That doesn't mean they will just simply tow something after 72 hours. They're going to try to find the owner. If the owner lives on the street and just doesn't know about this, and for some reason likes to park for many days at a time, the police will knock on the door and say, hey, is that car working? Is everything okay? If they say yes and they move the car, then it's fine. But you're not allowed to park your car indefinitely on the street. It's not your garage. And if there's an abandoned vehicle and you suspect it, let me know. I'll get it to Lieutenant Beckner. We towed a couple away because every now and then people do just abandon vehicles, and you know they just we'll store them down at the impound lot. And they can come get them when they're ready.
Snow on the street, and we have cars.
That's why we're trying to do it. Yeah. What about?
What do you do?
What?
Why can't we have signs on the street saying?
No parking during snow?
Yeah.
So we only have like 14 snow banned streets in all of Old Brooklyn. These are streets you cannot park on when it snows.
They can't do nothing. The mayor won't
Nope.
let them do it.
Why?
You won't find very many streets where everybody agrees on this policy. You walk down any street and ask every single person, you'll get a lot of different opinions about this. Some people will say, I need on-street parking, don't take it away, it's my choice if I get snowed in. You'll meet other people that say, everybody has a driveway, there's no reason for anybody to park on the street. You'll have other people that say, I don't care, I've got two...
That's parking on the street because they want to, because there's times we have to change vehicles around or whatever.
Sure.
But I mean, if there's a car out there and it's snowing like crazy and the plows come, we're not getting plowed.
Right, that's why
They're going around that car and-
that's why the police are trying to remove all the abandoned vehicles and make sure that there's no problem vehicles, so that when it snows, hopefully everybody can park in their driveway that night, and it's a lot easier to plow in the morning. That's like part of our messaging coming up this winter. We're gonna tell everybody what you already know, which is that when it snows, you should park in your driveway, all right? Please get off the street for snow events so that the plows can come through. Cars slow the plows down, right, because they gotta go around them. It also just makes it harder to make a clean street. And
Cars get stuck.
you're going to get snowed in by the plow, whether there's cars on the street or not. The plow is going to put snow at the foot of your driveway. That's life in the north, right? You're going to get snowed in, you're going to have to shovel that one way or another. So let's get all the way to the curb by not parking on the street. I'm positive this is going to be a big push this year, because nobody wants the debacle from last year, or from earlier this year. So,
It's also.
am I answering your question, kind
Is City
of?
Hall ready for this year? Do they
Not the way
change
I'd like
anything?
it.
We can't just ban on-street parking before snow. The city's looked at this, it doesn't work.
I'm just saying when it gets to be a certain inches. we gotta-
We've never been able to enforce it. There's too many streets where too many people need to park. We just try to encourage people to be sensible, park in your driveway before a snow event so that we can plow. And then there's only, like I said, there's 14 streets that you can't park in during snow. You ready? Broadview, State, Pearl, Memphis, Wetzel, Gifford, Spring Valley, Shaft, Ridge, Brook Park. I almost got to them. I'm missing like one or two. It's all the main roads.
Bid off. You say bid off?
I said, okay, bid off. If I didn't say bid off, right. And bid off, what's the one that runs through Parma, Brooklyn Acres? Woburn. Who said Woburn? Woburn is a parking ban street. Yeah, it's people don't expect it, but it's Woburn. That's right.
Now, are they more prepared this year?
We're
I mean,
gonna
I know
find
like
out.
last year, I just ended up plowing.
But what are the odds that we get that 1 in 10 year snowstorm this year? Not very good. The reason that they had, the actual reason that was given for why they were going to try to stop leaf pickup is they were wanting to just focus on getting ready for snow.
Yeah.
So they're acknowledging that they're trying to get ready for snow. So we'll find out.
I notice a lot of people park on their actual lawn, and isn't that?
Not allowed. You are not allowed to park in your yard. It is illegal to park on any soft surface. You can park on the street in your driveway. It must be paved. You cannot park on a non-solid surface. So I want to enforce this. No parking in yards, and your trash cans must be in the back of your house. They don't have to, they can be in your driveway, okay, but not in front of your porch. They can't be in the front of the house. If you can bring them from your curb to the porch, you can go another 15 feet, right? Just get them out your front yard. Get them out of the front yard, okay? That's actually code. It's actually code. They've got, technically they're supposed to be behind the house if you can. But no parking in yards and no trash cans in front.
I have a suggestion.
Keep Brooklyn beautiful.
You are simplifying a very thick book of codes.
Yes.
Out of the ones that you believe in all your experience to be the most critical for us to be aware of and to implement, why isn't there like a handout that can be given to all the new persons coming into the area? And also the ones that are here established already.
Yeah, no parking in your yard, put your trash cans in the back.
No, but I'm saying it.
Comes through the mail.
Yeah, I mean,
Why don't you put it in there?
I am going to have another one of these reach your mailbox before the end of the year, and I'm going to try to actually get it to go this way this time, so that you can actually see my little message. And it's going to be about code enforcement. And I absolutely plan to put in there the two things that I think everybody needs to know. You don't park in your yard and keep your trash cans in the back.
But give a phone number as well.
Yep.
May I add a third?
Yep.
The sewer openings, we have to have them open. Because what
Well, not
happens
everybody
is-
has a sewer opening.
But for those of us who do,
If you have a clogged sewer though, I think the water pollution control, the city's sewer department, will come out and clean that for you.
okay, then in parentheses, put that.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, that's gonna be hard because I don't know if that's one for everybody. Every single person has trash cans.
I know.
And every single person has a car, probably. But I hear you. The sewer.
I'm talking about the clogging of people littering. I'm talking about the clogging with the leaves, the
Yeah.
branches.
If you have a
It's
clogged
terrible
sewer,
in some places.
let me know. We'll call water pollution control, water pollution control.
You know
They're
what I
really
do?
good.
I go
They'll
to
come
those
out.
neighbors that are lazy, and I open it up every single
You
time.
got,
And the only
thank
reason
you.
I do it is because I wanna take the high road. That's why.
All right.
I do, I personally, we have another house in Parma, and it's on the corner, and corner houses get it real bad. All the other businesses, their stuff falls out and flows, or people go to a McDonald's and they just stop and put it right there.
Exactly.
The bar's next door. So I told the city, I go, why don't you give me an extra garbage can? I'm like, I'm over here picking garbage up.
Don't put that idea in people's heads.
But I'm just saying, if you're in a place where, there's certain positions where houses are, like, what are you gonna do?
We charge you. if you need
Yeah,
more.
they wanna charge for our.
Yeah, no, everybody gets a black bin and a blue bin if you choose to opt into recycling. If not, then you're only gonna get a black bin.
How is
That's the way the
that
world
coming
works.
along, that recycling here in Old Brooklyn?
It seems like it's going great now. Everybody's rolled out, everybody's good, everybody's got their trash cans figured out.
I think their threshold was 25,000, which they far surpassed.
That they needed to make the program sustainable.
So it went over 25,000?
That's what I heard.
Good.
Parental Brumfield, the man who executed the recycling program for the city of Cleveland. Fantastic work out of him. He did a great job.
Who
We're
is
gonna
this
commend him.
gentleman speaking? Who are you?
John.
Are you with the city?
No,
No,
I'm with the
John lives in the
neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
Did they pluck back the blue ones?
Did they what? They're going to be collecting them.
They've been
So,
saying that for a
they
while.
have. The first thing they were doing is they put the sticker on and said, if you don't have your sticker, we're gonna collect it. Then
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna start collecting them. So, everything's gonna take longer than we want it to, but you know, it's a,
What difference does it make? There's 6,000, 7,000 trees behind, you know, so what the heck, right?
they'll eventually grab them.
Because everyone's using them.
I know,
For
which is
every-
why
for everything.
I get, it's tough, because every single week I see on Facebook, somebody says, I don't know why I bother recycling, they just threw the blue can in the same truck as the black can. Well, that blue can was probably not a recycle can, it was probably just somebody that was using it for excess trash, because unless you have the sticker, they will throw it in the regular truck.
Yeah.
Without the sticker, it's not recycling, it's just regular trash. But people think that blue means recycling, they don't understand that it's blue plus a sticker means recycling. So every week on Facebook, I see somebody upset about that, and I kind of let it go. I figure they'll figure it out eventually.
And you know that fire station that they had over at Stickney and Pro Road? They
Station
used to have
42.
They do, yes, but
Station
they
42.
used to have like a real big tin container, and that's where you can throw all your recyclable tin things. They took that big little cubbyhole hut away, and now I just saw a whole bunch of blue bags with nothing but all these cans in it.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So I don't know if it's going the right way or not.
I'll ask them. I haven't heard them about it. Did you have anything?
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up here.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was on Oak Park between Broadview and State, and it's been brought to my attention, people being parked out in their cars 3 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and is there somewhere to call other than the second district?
No, call the police. If you think there's illegal activity happening, call the police. The police are not in the habit of approaching people and saying, hi, I'm here because that person called me.
Yeah.
They won't say who called them. They will just get a call. By the way, the dispatcher will get the call and say, oh, okay, there's somebody suspicious activity in a car on Oak Park. We'll send a cruiser out. The cruiser that comes by doesn't know who called.
Well, they're gonna drive by too, you don't even know what hell.
I mean, if they know they're looking for a person in a car, they'll look for a person in a car. If the person's gone because they're in a car and they left, and they call it quiet on arrival or whatever. But we need to call the police about this. It's not like there's no other way to figure out what's going on after the fact. If you're concerned about illegal activity, you should call the police. Let them know. Let them see if there's anything illegal happening.
And not to mention,
Yeah.
the more calls they get in areas and that where they focus more patrol on.
The police absolutely put their patrol cars where they're getting calls. Absolutely.
That's why when there's another call, you can use your office or.
I mean,
someone might be able to take,
no.
you know?
When I ask the police for calls for service, they tell me the people that called in, not the number of times I called them. That's the non-emergency number. Put it on your fridge. That's the one you should call.
So there's people that never ever call, and it amuses me when they go online and say, what's the point of calling? Well, if you
Yeah,
don't call, then you're not known as a problem area, the cops will never visit your area.
We had a problem house this summer. Everybody kept calling me. When I actually wanted to generate a nuisance call, I said, hey, cops, how many times have people called about this house? They said none. Because they called me.
Well, what we have is a lot of people traffic, all hours of the night, you know, and,
Call the police, please. That's what they're for.
Isn't that what happened in that barber shop in Saratoga, they never got any complaints?
We would encourage residents to start a call. So if you call the police and then you call your neighbor and say, hey, maybe they didn't see the car.
This is,
Say, hey,
if you've got neighbors and you can text them and say, hey, call the police, I'm calling the police. And the
Yeah.
police get 3 calls at once, far more likely to send a car.
Till 3 in the morning, what's the chances?
Hey, the cops at 3 in the morning don't have a whole lot to do. The bars are closed.
Yeah, that's
I'm talking about the neighbors.
That's
yeah,
something
they're
to have a
asleep, right?
relationship with,
Yeah.
where that is something
But-
that if you're concerned.
I mean, after the bars close, the cops are sort of just, looking for the stragglers,
Call
right?
from each of your cell phones, that's 2 calls right there.
There you go, that's right. And you got a landline? You got a landline?
Yeah.
Hey, okay, they got 3 calls.
I'm anonymous.
You generated
There's a-
3 calls.
there's a,
I've got a Google Maps on my phone. I can call from 2 numbers on this phone alone. Get your Google number.
See you next week.
All right, next Thursday.
And Thursday.
Okay, Wednesday at Mary Queen
We're
of
the
Peace.
neighbor.
Thursday here, though. Thursday here. But no,
This
that's.
is information. The email, it just wants to know.
Okay. Thanks a lot. 552 North Cliff.
If somebody bought it to invest in or sell,